The views expressed on the following program do not necessarily represent those of this station or its management.
It's time now for Where You Live with Gene Sullivan, the show that deals with the news and events that affect you the most. Whether you rent or own, live in an HOA, single-family home, or an apartment building, Gene will tackle the issues right where you live. So, from the True North Painting Studios, here's the original Man of Steel, Resolve himself, who stands for truth, justice, and the association way. Here's Gene Sullivan.
Good morning. Welcome to Where You Live. I'm Gene Sullivan, and I'm broadcasting from the True North Painting Studios. When you're looking for the right painting contractor, what do you look for? Isn't it someone who will respect you, your time, your property, and your budget? That's what you can expect from True North Painting. Find out more about this exceptional company by going online at truenorthpainting.com. That's truenorthpainting.com, or give them a call at 952-831-1433. I'm also brought to you by the great folks at Extreme Exteriors and American Family Insurance, the Kim Bennett Agency. And as always, I want to begin by also saying hello to my producer, Christopher Wyatter Huberty. How are you doing, Chris?
Good, Gene. How about yourself today?
If I can be honest, just between you and I.
Between you and me,
okay,
absolutely.
It can't go beyond us.
Secret safe with me.
All right, good. The Man of Steel just ain't what he used to be.
No?
No, not at all. I am finding that I need more sleep.
Mm-hmm.
When I was a younger man,
Yeah.
In college, I could pull all-nighters and seem to be fine without any repercussion at all.
Mm-hmm.
I could usually go between 4 to 6 hours sleep a night and be good to go. Now, boy, if I'm not getting somewhere between that sweet spot of 7 to 8 hours,
Mm-hmm.
it gets to be pretty tough for me.
Even just like minimum function, or is it?
It is, no, I can function, but I'm dragging.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not on my A game.
Yeah,
I can tell that for sure. How about you? You need sleep?
I like my 8 hours. I can function on pretty much anything, but if it's below 7, then I'm hurting.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, so you've always been about that?
More or
about that
less.
way?
Yeah.
Okay.
In college, I could sleep until about 9, could sleep until 1 p.m., and I'd be pretty much the same.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, I had a buddy in college who he was kind of a quirky fellow, good friend, but he swore that he had to have 8 hours of sleep, and when I mean 8 hours, I mean 8 hours. He could sleep 7 hours, 51 minutes, and then he had to have a 9-minute nap somewhere else during the day. Otherwise, he said he just couldn't function.
Wow.
I'm not that way. It used to be I could, especially in the evening, I used to drive at night.
Yep.
Loved driving at night, and
yeah.
I could drive all night long. Now, I notice that once the sun sets, I would prefer to be done with driving. So I'm getting to be an old poop.
Once the sun's done with the day, so are you.
So am I.
Yeah.
That's right. But I've got a buddy who has got a surefire way to make sure that you're never going to fall asleep at the wheel. So he says, take a $100 bill,
Mm-hmm.
and you put it between your thumb and your forefinger, roll down the window, and you stick your hand out the window. Guaranteed, he said, you'll never fall asleep at the wheel.
I like that.
Yeah, so you can use that.
I definitely will.
Feel free to do that. Well, we've got a lot to cover on today's show. So without further ado, let's begin with property management in the news. Property management in the news is brought to you by Home Furniture and Abbey Floor Coverings. Their showrooms are staffed with professionals who will help you choose what you need to fit both your lifestyle and budget. Whatever you need, chances are they'll have what you're looking for. If you wish to avail yourself of special pricing you won't find anywhere else, all Where You Live listeners can call Customer Service Coordinator Lori Matson at 952-224-2663. Our first story is coming out of Raleigh, North Carolina. It was reported on the NBC Today show a couple weeks ago. Perhaps you saw this. There's a real nasty dispute about a couple that is building what they say is their dream home. And if you take a look online at the this dispute and everything that's going on, you'll say, I don't see any problem. This is a gorgeous home. The guy is an architect. His name is Louis Cherry, his wife, Marcia Gordon. And Mr. Cherry said that he has built a home and has designed it with a modernist style made famous by architect Frank Lloyd Wright. Some very sleek modernist lines. The problem is the home is being built in an area that is in a historic district. And so you have a number of neighbors who are saying, hey, this just doesn't fit in with the style of homes that we have in our neighborhood. And so they've asked that the city of Raleigh, I think it's their Board of Adjustment, to overturn the Historic Development Commission's decision to allow Cherry and Gordon to build their home. Now, is this right? Do people have a right to be able to say, hey, you shouldn't be able to build this home because it's not going to be like the rest of the neighborhood? Now, a number of you may be thinking, now, Gene, I know exactly where you're coming down on this. You always seem to, on this show, come down on the side of HOA's right to defend their ability for architectural control. And so surely you're coming down on the side of the city or this neighborhood who wants to preserve the historic architectural continuity. And you might be surprised to hear that I am not. And you're going to say, how can that be? Well, let me tell you. Let me tell you a little bit about background with a historic district. Some of you may or may not be aware of this. But what is a historic district? Well, you know, you'll have an area, a group of buildings and properties that have been designated or recognized, and not just by one, but by several entities, as historically or architecturally significant. A number of people have said, you know, we've in our young history as a country, we've just been too quick in the name of progress just to tear everything down and put something else up, and just because it's newer doesn't mean that it has some of the beauty and grandeur. And for our history, to preserve our history and to remember where we came from, it's kind of nice to be able to have that. And I'll admit, we've got some very great areas that are historical districts here in the Twin Cities. You know, St. Paul, you go along there are some neighborhoods that are considered a historic district, and you have some great homes that are being built. And so what is it about this particular home here? What is it that makes it, you know, so egregious to so many people? Well, with a historic district, even though you have an area that may be recognized as properties that are historically or architecturally significant, it's important to read the rest of the guidelines that follow with an historic district. Number one, it's important to point out that in a historic district, even though many buildings, may be architecturally significant and historically very important to keep, not all buildings are that way. In a historic district, there are composed of two categories. You can have buildings, objects, and structures that are divided as contributing, so they contribute to the historic significance of the district, and you can have non-contributing buildings that are there and are going to be allowed to stand. So that means that within a historic district, not everything is going to have the same value, okay? Individual buildings will be specifically registered with the National Historic Registry within a historic district. So even though you have an area that's recognized, there will be another subset of homes, those that are registered on the National Historic Registry. And that's important because if a building is registered on the National Historic Registry in the United States, that means that there are a lot of prohibitions in place of what you can and cannot do when it comes to making repairs. I know this because there was a building that we managed a number of years ago in St. Paul that was in a historic district. The building itself was on the National Historic Registry, so it was registered. And when it came time, when the homeowners in that condo association wanted to replace windows and to do some other things, we had to be very careful and had to go through a really long and arduous process in order to find out what kind of windows you can actually replace them with. Because now you can't find windows of that era because they're not made anymore. And so what do you do? How do you take care of that? It's very significant. People are given a lot of extra money in terms of tax breaks if you have a home on the National Historic Registry. And so there's a financial reason why people want to see that happen and want to see their home preserved. Not only does it preserve the home, but a lot of times they're given a financial incentive to be able to keep something that's historically significant, that is keeping a part of the history alive. So we have this nasty development in Raleigh, North Carolina, and what to do. Well, I'll tell you more about this, but we need to take a break. So don't go away. A lot more of Where You Live after these messages.